Namaste, angels. This is going to be my full moon in Capricorn, or Capricorn full moon partial lunar eclipse video. It'll go for the period of July 16th through July 30th, because the 31st is the new moon in Leo. Those of you who saw my readings that I did yesterday, the bonus one that I put up, because I had got Mercury retrograded in, and the one that I decided to use as the actual general weekly reading for the week. In both, you would have seen there was a lot of this Leo energy that came up, and a lot of what I felt had to do with the new moon, and therefore the new moon in Leo. So that's at the end of the month. That's before July's even over, which is interesting because I also talked about a lot of stuff happening like later in July, and then like by August, early to mid-August, around like the 11th, I said when Jupiter goes direct, it is also the Hajj on the Islamic calendar. Muslims all over the world will be making a pilgrimage to Mecca, those who can and choose to do it this year. Also, it's Rosh Hashanah and the Lion's Gate. I had mentioned all these things that were going on around that time, and I said that's what I feel, tons is going to happen. Well, now that I have my planetary, that was off the top of my head. Now that I have my planetary calendar overview in front of me, I'm seeing that also on August 11th, I was correct, first of all. Not only does Jupiter go direct at 9:37 a.m., but at 3:45 p.m., Mercury enters Leo. So there's more Leo there. Also, that same day, August 11th, at 10:27 p.m., Uranus goes retrograde. Yay, another planet joining. That's it. The next thing is on August 15th at 8:29 a.m., the full moon in Aquarius. All right, so like I said, this reading will cover the period of July 16th through July 30th, and exactly 15 days over which we should continue to feel the moon energy. And of course, with eclipses, that can go on for months. So let's get started. Also happening on the day of the moon, from what I understand, if I got it right, sometimes I get these messages and then I try to Google them to see what they are, because I'm not an astrologer, by trade or anything. I don't claim to be, but I do see stuff, and then I try to look it up to see what it's about. So, as I understand it, Pluto and Saturn will also be conjunct in the South Node, which is Capricorn. It's the axis opposite Cancer, which is currently the North or True Node. And that energy will last for about 6 months, from what I've gathered. And that would put us to around January, actually, 2020. So that's how long you can expect to be feeling some of the results of some of the things that are happening right now. All right, so the other stuff that's going on in between this period, I just want you to be aware, between the 15th and the 31st is on July 19th at 3:06 a.m., Mercury retrograde enters Cancer. So Mercury was in Leo, then went retrograde while still in Leo, is currently there now, retrograde in Leo, but will move into Cancer for a period before coming back to Leo and going direct on the 31st, the same day as the new moon in Leo, July 31st. At 11:58 p.m., Mercury goes direct. So you have that to look forward to. On July 22nd at 10:50 p.m., the Sun enters Leo. On July 27th at 9:54 p.m., Venus enters Leo. So we'll have Mercury, Venus, the Sun, Mars, and the new moon. I think that's it. All there together for a period. So that's it on the planetary calendar that's going to be going on in the meantime. I don't know what to I was going to explain some of these cards because they have to do with what's going on too. Like, for example, I pulled these out. No, I had these out rather. Oh, we just revealed Lord Ganesha. Nice. Abundance coming up. Well, we saw that for the feminine, at least in my general reading for the week. Infinite abundance. Obstacles are being removed. Spiritual support and connections are increasing. So that just fell out just now, which is kind of cool because I already had a card that said that on the table to start with. Obstacles and blocks are lifted. All your good personal work and your positive energy have overcome previous obstacles and blocks are lifted away. You will now experience progress and forward movement with your projects. Stay centered in gratitude to ensure that your flow of abundance continues. So that's pretty awesome. Especially since that's not even the card I was going to show you. I was going to show you that I was getting ready to put this deck away, and I was like playing with it in my hand, I guess, you know, like sort of subconsciously, and then landed on Mary Magdalene at the beginning, Teacher Awakens, and the card says, you have something important to share. Follow the inner call. Don't let anything stop you. So I started to put the deck away, and you know, that's when I noticed that she was on top, and I said, oh, wait a minute, Mary Magdalene's feast day is this week. The week that's coming up next week during this period of the moon. And I think I just said something else was on the same day as her feast day. Her feast day is the 22nd. Yes, I did just say something else on the 22nd. On July 22nd at 10:50 p.m., the sun enters Leo. All right, so that's also the same day that Mary Magdalene is celebrated, July 22nd. That is her feast day. 722, which equals 11. Of course, 22, a master number 22 is also a derivative of 13, or 13 is a derivative of 22, however you want to look at it. 4, of course. Also, some other people, pretty cool people on the Christian calendar are celebrated next week. You know, there's basically somebody in each day, but I just tend to pick out who I feel is particularly important. And in addition to Mary Magdalene on the 22nd, that would be on the 25th, St. James the Apostle, one of the sons of thunder. So that's pretty cool. James and his brother John were the sons of thunder. And then on the 26th, Saints Joaquin and Anne are celebrated. Joaquin and Anne are Mary's parents, not Mary Magdalene, Mary, mother of Jesus's parents. So that's pretty cool too, at least in my opinion. I guess while I have this out, because I pulled out my Christian calendar after I remembered that, I said, oh, wait a minute, I gotta check something. Now that's it. During the period of the of this 2 weeks, like the following week, there's some other people, but they're like saints, like I said, that I wouldn't talk about anyway. All right, so that's that. So when I do my full moon readings, I like to take a look at the almanac, sort of in remembrance and honor. It's of Benjamin Banneker. It's a practice I've developed. Benjamin Banneker, the black man that invented the Farmer's Almanac back in the 1800s. And this full moon is actually one of my least favorite full moons. And that probably sounds crazy. Like, you know, how do you have a preference of full moons? Ones you like and ones you don't. But I do. And I'll tell you why I don't like this one. This is the full buck moon, or the full black moon. Or it is also a black moon. And the buck moon tends to align with the murder of black boys in this country, in my observation. And it's already started. Like the moon we haven't even had it yet, but just last week there was this week rather, there was a 17-year-old boy had his throat slit in like a 7-Eleven or something because some crazed, Confederate type white dude didn't like that the kid was listening to rap music, what he heard coming out of his earphones. So he slit his throat, but that kind of stuff happens. Cops, shoot our kids and stuff. And it happens every summer around the time of the full buck moon. It's like open season on black people, particularly males and the younger males. It's like hunting season. So on these young bucks, you ever heard of a man be called a young buck? Well, no, in black communities, at least in my time, my era, the 80s, the 90s, we called younger people young bucks, or we were called young bucks by older people. So, yeah, there's that. But what the almanac has to say about the full moon is this. July 2019 is notable because it will have 2 new moons. The first rises on July 2nd and the second on July 31st. In recent years, a second new moon in a single calendar month has come to be called a black moon. Though this is not an official astronomical term, it is used. Now, my other issue, or reason why I'm not going to be too fond of this one, I had already been warning about July in general and the sort of feminine, karmic feminine energy that tends to take over this period. And I mentioned how these, if it turns out to be an actual person in your life, these people, often actually females, are Cancers and or Leos or Leo Cancers, like Cuspians. And very Lilith-like. Well, black moons are associated with Lilith too. So it's like, oh, great. Now we got, the buck season and Lilith happening at the same time. Oh, joy, joy. But the reason I thought that it was cool that during this period, so on a more positive note, that St. James is celebrated, one of the sons of thunder, is that this moon is also, the full buck moon is also called the full thunder moon. So I thought that was interesting. Let's see what they have to say about the full thunder or buck moon. July is the month of the full buck moon. At this time, a buck's antlers are in full growth. This full moon was also known as the thunder moon because thunderstorms are so frequent during this month. How did the full moons get their names? The full moons have descriptive names that typically come from Native American tribes who use the full moons to keep track of the seasons. The almanac tends to use the names of the Algonquin people who were prominent along the Atlantic coast and into the interior along the St. Lawrence River and around the Great Lakes. Maybe Benjamin Banneker was Algonquin, I don't know. In any case, here are a few other Native American names for the July full moon that have been translated into English. The ripe corn moon, Cherokee. The middle of summer moon, the Ponca. Moon when limbs of trees are broken by fruit, Zuni. And that one gave me chills because I thought about the strange fruit, strange fruit hanging from the poplar trees. That is my people being murdered. And oh God, all right. I gotta try to shake this off because I'm literally getting chills all over the place. There's a video on here. The almanacs page for those who would like to see it, with additional facts about the moon. And then they give some little sort of fun facts at the bottom here. On July 20th, in 1969, Neil Armstrong became the first person to step foot on the moon. He's also placed the United States flag there. On July 31st, 1999, the ashes of astrogeologist Eugene Shoemaker were deposited on the moon. And it says, we leave you with a poem by James N. Matthews, who lived between 1852 and 1910. A moon-flooded prairie, a straying of leal-hearted lovers, a baying of far-away watching dogs, a dreaming of brown-fisted farmers, a gleaming of fireflies eddying nigh, and that is July. Brown-fisted farmers sounds like slaves. Let me get off of this page. So now, I guess I'll just tell you what other than that I had been feeling about the moon. So, and a lot of this is based on the readings that I already did, the general weekly and the love reading, which you haven't seen yet at the time that I'm recording this, but I have set to premiere tonight at 10:30. There was a lot of emperor, a lot of parent, and then a lot of specifically father, in addition to the emperor. A lot of kings showed up in the readings, like 2 kings of wands in the same reading, mirroring each other. King of Pentacles a couple times. And I just, had this great feeling about father. There was a lot of 11 by way of aces, and also Major Arcana card 11, strength, which represents the sign of Leo. There was a lot of 19. The sun showed up a few different times in a few different decks, various, different variations, but Major Arcana card 19, which is the sun in the tarot. There was a lot of 11, 19 together, which is a representation of father for me and my channel. And, in general, it should be for everybody, but everybody knows about it. I got to, get the message out. But there was also a lot of taking back control of one's life. I had seen where some people, it seemed to be being controlled by the purse strings, as they say, and sort of taking back control of one's life, relinquishing it from whomever you had given it to, or whomever had tried to take it from you, oppressors and things, sort of being thwarted. So that's what I expect. And, we've seen it, or I've seen it recently. I just earlier today was reading about that guy Epstein, the billionaire pervert, who he's getting time at home, what they call that, house arrest, which is total bullshit. Weinstein basically bought his freedom. He paid it, but they didn't let Bill Cosby do that. So even where justice is being done, where we're taking down pedophiles and exposing things, it's still injustice in that racial inequality, gender inequality, sexual orientation inequality. And these are the things that I expect to be exposed, on an individual level, the karmic lessons of our past and things that the lessons we've already learned, sort of coming up and being put to work, and also new past things coming to a close. But not only individually, I think also collectively too, our past collective lessons, particularly with both Pluto and Saturn being retrograde in Capricorn. And I had read somewhere years ago that Saturn actually used to be Scorpio's ruler, not Pluto. So that's always been interesting to me. But the fact that they're together, because this is the second year in a row that I've noticed, and again, not an astrologer, where both Pluto and Saturn have been retrograde in Capricorn. at the same time. And so they're going to, with them being conjunct Capricorn at the same time as a partial lunar eclipse and a full moon. I just see, I guess because of the eclipse, with the moon sort of being blacked out for a moment, like if you're removing the dark, that means you're shedding light. You're illuminating. I just see light being shown on more of these issues, more of these people, crooks, perverts. And then again in our individual lives, just deciding enough is enough, with boundaries being challenged, and maybe more so for the feminine than the masculine. There's a lot of inner child crap going on, and that I sort of, in vulnerability, like challenging that and like sort of taking a stand, fighting back, like the Me Too kind of stuff. And then from a masculine, the perspective of the masculine, it might even be his boundaries that have been challenged more so. I mean, when we're not talking about the physical, in general, like from a, not a physical perspective, but in a more general perspective, his boundaries that are often challenged. Because I'm just feeling like more so the masculine is who is always sort of told how to live by different people, maybe even inclusive of the feminine. So I just see like I said, light being shown on all of this stuff, and there was so much 8 also in the general reading, both the general readings. And even when I read about Mary and Our Lady of Mount Carmel, the year equaled 88. There was probably about 28s in the table at the same time. And the number 8 in numerology is a number that's basically representative of karma. Karmic justice sort of number, like getting your due, good or bad, or good, good, bad, and different, I guess I should say. In supreme math, it means build, destroy. And the idea of build, destroy is similar to what Jesus says in the Bible. Like, if you're not with us, you are against us. If you are not building, you are destroying. If you are not helping, you are hurting. If you're sitting on the sidelines, if you're watching the rest of us work, and you figure that makes you innocent, your hands are clean because you haven't, sullied them by doing anything negative, you are still destroying. To sit idly by and watch atrocities occur is to help them to occur, period. And I think that that's what's going to be coming up a lot too. And that may unfortunately come up in connection, not unfortunately, fortunately, it needs to fucking come up finally, in connection to, like I said, all the black youth, black people, but often the youth, and then often more specifically to that, the young males that are murdered, and people who claim to care about humanity and claim to care about animals and claim to care about life in general, sit the fuck idly by and don't say anything. And these people that are animal rights activists forget the humans are animals too. And vegans and stuff, they're silent. They're all silent. That was one of the, even when I was only eating plants and no animals, no animal, hormones or fats or foods, products, period, I still couldn't call myself a vegan because I said they watch my people get murdered and they don't say anything and they cry over dogs. I don't like when dogs get hurt either. But all this kind of stuff needs to come out, and I just see more and more light being shown on it, and may it be soon. Amen. All right, let's get to the actual reading.